Dr. David Hewitt and Dr. Randy DeYoung are professors at Texas A&M Kingsville and research scientists with the Caesar Kleberg Wildlife Research Institute.
Got our deer call, come on!
They are doing important and valuable research on an ever-increasing menace affecting native deer species in Texas and other states.
Chronic wasting disease is one type of disease in a whole family of diseases, and one kind of type of disease that many people may recognize is mad cow disease, and chronic wasting disease is a similar type of disease as mad cow disease. And what it is a misfolding of some natural proteins that are in the animal's body. And when these misfold, they cause problems. They don't break down normally, so they kind of build up. And the end game of all that is what's really important. The end game is that these proteins build up in the animal's brain, and the brain quits functioning. It actually gets holes in it, and bad things start happening. So one of the problems with chronic wasting disease is it's very difficult to tell if an animal has it until the very final stages. And even the final stages, the symptoms aren't unique. You can see those same symptoms from a lot of other diseases.
Researchers are working to determine where and how the disease may spread next.
Well, we actually have two studies. So the modeling study is one of them, and then we have an ongoing study where we're trying to essentially study and predict in mule deer, in Texas mule deer, where the disease might be, eventually be transmitted to. There's some areas in western Texas near El Paso that there's an endemic area in New Mexico where natural movements of deer have been coming into Texas with chronic wasting disease in the past 2 or 3 years. And then there's also an area kind of in the Texas Panhandle, maybe northwest of Amarillo, that some mule deer and I think a few elk have tested positive for chronic wasting disease. And beyond that, in the last several years, there's been several cases in captive herds of white-tailed deer in Texas, and then recently in Medina County, there was a free-ranging white-tailed deer that tested positive.
Also in the field with them is Dr. Aaron Foley. He's done extensive research in the area and shared with us some video that he shot personally of his assignments by area tracking deer populations and the natural spread of this disease.
My role was to develop a deer population model based on 20 years of surveys conducted on the King Ranch. I then incorporated CWD parameters into the model to assess changes in projected deer population sizes.
With the disease spreading to free-range deer populations, researchers are turning their focus to management strategies.
And because it's not a living organism, you can't kill it. It's not alive. And so when these prions, they call them, it's a prion protein, when these prions are in the soil or excreted by the animal in its saliva or its urine or its feces, things like that, those prions can sit there for long periods of time, years potentially, and if other animals get a big enough dose or enough of those prions, they can get the same kind of chain reaction happening in their body, and they then become carriers of chronic wasting disease and will eventually die of the disease. Right now there's no vaccinations or treatments for it. Once it gets started, there's really nothing you can do. One important thing to recognize is that right now there's no evidence that people are susceptible to this disease. So why hunters would still want to be careful in handling deer from areas where chronic wasting disease has been documented.
Very resistant to breakdown, and so even things like heat and bleach and things like that, you couldn't just do that to an entire ranch.